Well, Murph, we just got off discussing a very dystopian, awful game that did not help us escape the trials and tribulations of our everyday life. But this time around, I'm much more confident that this will be a cheerful game. We've got Jarrett here, Jarrett Green, freelancer extraordinaire and famed writer and editor.
Well known to bring cheer and hope and positivity. So I'm really glad I'm here to turn this show around.
Yes, every recording date of March 20th, Jarrett Claus comes down our chimneys and guest stars. I don't know. How you doing, man?
If you see me come down your chimney, just shoot, man. I don't know why I'm there, and I don't need you. I don't belong there.
Tell us a bit about yourself. What kind of games do you like?
I don't know. I feel like every game I play is for money now. I think
that was the will answer. That is the will answer.
Yeah. What do I do for
what
fun?
games did you play when you had that spark of joy?
Back when I had joy. It's funny. I find myself playing like comfort games the same way I find myself listening to music. Like games were good. Like music stopped being good after a certain point in my life, and that's just me being old. Like that's not a true statement. I understand that that's an old uncle ass thing to say, but I certainly feel that way for some games that I played when I was younger, and like, damn, is that still good? And I'll play it again and be like, yep, still hits, like
still bangs,
Legend of Mana, yep, that still bangs.
Wait, how old are you, Jarrett?
I'm 37 years old.
I'm 31. So I'm slowly getting into the phase.
So you understand, you are transforming into this person. It's an unfortunate transformation, but like once you're the wolf, it's fine. It's just turning into the wolf that makes you the asshole.
Wait, what precedes being the wolf?
The transformation from man to wolf. The mid stage when
you
you're rolling.
Dog first.
Hold on. Are you literally like?
You go into Pomeranian first. You go human, Pomeranian, wolf.
Are you literally saying werewolf, bar mitzvah, spooky, scary, boys becoming men becoming wolves?
Listen, I am not saying that. Shout out to Tracy Morgan, who had a rough day a week ago at a Knicks game. I'm not saying that I'm drawing a direct comparison to the classic werewolf bar mitzvah, but take what you will from this.
What can we take away from Assassin's Creed Shadows?
If you want a really great, well-written opinion about Assassin's Creed Shadows, that's on the Imagine Games Network by me.
Is that what IGN stands for?
Yeah, back in like 1994 or whatever. Yeah, that was its original name.
Throwback here.
I don't even think anyone who works there knows that. It's like a fun trivia just for me.
Oh, that's fun. I mean, we're getting breaking news here. Just give us give us a little something. Well, did you like the game?
Oh yeah. I think if you like Assassin's Creed games, specifically if you find pleasure from the RPG ones, from the fake Witcher 3 ones, you're gonna like this one. If you're one of those people who are like, Black Flag's the last one I played and fuck this game, I got nothing for you here. But if you liked Odyssey, you liked Valhalla, you liked Origins, walk with Shadows. I think you're gonna like.
That's a good snippet.
The bonus of like being done with Shadows is that I can like now play Monster Hunter, which is actually the game I want to play, but I haven't played any of it.
How are you in Monster Hunter? Oh yeah, I want to play it so bad right now, and like it's just so much time, and like I always hear it's getting good in high ranks. I'm like, okay, when's that happening?
It's one of those things. It's always been this way. I've been playing Monster Hunter since like 2005, so I know the game begins at like hour 20, but they've done like a decent job over the past especially the past 10 years of like turning the early game into something cool as well. It seems like this time what they've done is like make the early game like a real story actually. Which is like not like all that compelling to me, but like it's interesting to see as a person who knows that this game was that the entire the role of the story in these games were just a contrivance to get you to kill stuff for like 2 decades. So them attempting to like add some context, like why are these people just here killing monsters? That's a good question. How about the people that live there already? How do they feel about this? What another good question. Like at least they're attempting something, right? So I appreciate that. It really is for me though, just trying to check boxes so I can get to the cool shit.
There you go. Murph, as a person that's played a bunch of the Assassin's Creed games, that's right, we're still talking about this. Is like did his description sound appetizing to you?
So before I started playing through all the Myst games, and before I started playing through all the Yakuza games, and I played through all the Resident Evil games, then I played through all the Assassin's Creed games, up to the most recent one, which was Valhalla. And I remember really liking Assassin's Creed 3. I actually wasn't that hot on 4. I think I'm one of the contrarians that does not like 4. And I found Valhalla, like, sort of the refinement of their RPG, we're gonna be Witcher era. And Odyssey was just, like, exhausting. So I wanted to know, does Shadows, does it skew more Valhalla, or does it skew more Odyssey?
I think one of the biggest sort of consensus from Valhalla was that game is too long. Like there's too much of that game. It kind of took the wrong lessons from Odyssey, and Odyssey was a game that was also too big and too long.
Yes, especially with the expansion packs. I beat Valhalla before they dropped the first expansion.
Valhalla is like, there's so much distance between the big story plot points that you just kind of spend a lot of time doing nothing until you do something. I think they did a great job of kind of like shortening the gap between those things. This is also like a user sort of variance. Like it depends on how you play these games too. Me, I'm like a more critical pathy kind of person. I'm not going to climb every tower I see. Like even though I know there's a thing over there, I can probably find it. Like it's probably armor. I probably don't need it. I'm good. I'm just going to pass it. I'm good. But not everybody plays. Some people like to check all the boxes. I think Shadows does a great job of de-emphasizing the checkbox stuff and kind of just letting you live in the place. And that helped me sort of focus on just doing the story stuff. And I felt that felt more congruent with how I like what I like about these games, how I like to play them, than in Valhalla and Odyssey. I think ultimately, though, it does take most of its lessons from Valhalla in the way it tells the story, sort of the dark tone of the whole thing, how it introduces, like how it even frames like the chunks of land in which you interact with stuff. Like the pacing is far more like Valhalla than in Odyssey. Odyssey infamously has like a big like third act. Third act kind of opens with you just running like sailing around to islands for 20 hours, which is like infuriating to me. And that does not happen here, which is great. And you spend a lot of time going back to places, which is a thing Valhalla doesn't do. Like you kind of go to a country and you like handle their problem, and then you leave and never have an incentive to go back if it's not checking more boxes. Like the story takes you to familiar places pretty regularly, so like characters that are there don't just vanish from history suddenly. And it felt more cohesive in that way.
Okay, actually, one thing I want to hone in on is something that came up in your review, is you really talked about the weather in this game, and you said it was like some of the best you've seen in any game. I am a sicko for good weather effects in a video game. Please tell me about that.
I think nature...
This is great podcast fodder. Wow.
Yeah, nature itself in this game is like also kind of on point. I found myself like in the process of just like listening to random NPCs just like talk about some shit, knowing that once I like stand there long enough, they're probably going to say something that's probably going to drop like a pin on my map or whatever. But
Yeah.
while that was happening, I noticed like it was springtime. There are seasons in Shadows. It was during the spring, so like the grass is tall, the sky is clear, and I just kind of noticed like bugs are like flying around me, like butterflies are like taking off from out of the field. You see like birds kind of like grazing and like paddling across the lake from the distance, and I'm like, I don't think that sort of little nature is something I don't really see much or really notice much in other games. And then as that was over and I'm like figure out where I'm going to go next, I ride the horse. I'm like looking around in another village nearby, and I can sort of start to hear like the wind pick up, and like suddenly it's like gusts. It goes from like a whisper to like a howl, and then like the sky darkens and thunder starts to rumble from a distance, and then it gets louder and louder, and then you start seeing lightning. This is like a 10-minute process of it turning into a storm. And I happen to be near a coast, so you see the waves and the ocean kind of react to this too. And I had never seen like both that happening and then like little like tanuki scurrying, kind of like trying to find hiding, and big flocks of birds flying away, like stuff you would, even like the best games that do this, Ghost of Tsushima does pretty good weather stuff too, don't feel like real life, right? Like that is something that when you're outside, you notice or you expect. I don't even think you notice it actively, but you kind of expect it and it feels real. I think this stood out to me so much because I never expect that in a game, but it's the first time I've seen like weather change in real time and have like the entire world react to it in a way the real world would actually react to it.
Ooh,
like
that's
consistently
actually,
every
like,
time. It's like, it was really like, I don't like immersion because it's like not real to me. I'm clearly sitting in front of a screen. I am not a part of this world. But that's the first time I really felt like someone took the real world and put this in here in a way that's like actually palatable and like in a way moving, like real like recreation in like an artistic way, but like something that isn't something that I don't think will age poorly, right? It feels so palatable in that way.
I think that's like the biggest selling point I've heard from any review on this game. I kind of just want to get it just so I can walk around and watch weather now.
It's like, and it's like, especially during rainy times, it is consistently like one of those things you stop and like let happen first before you continue to do the next thing. The guy whose neck I need to stab can wait. I need to watch this happen.
Yeah. I can get
to
that.
bask in the glow of the morning.
What's the weather like in Rise of the Golden Idol, Brogan?
It varies depending on the case. Have you ever played these games, Murph?
No, I know you've been trying to talk about them for a while. I feel like this is like the third episode where you wanted to. But other times the Watcha Playin was too dense, so you cut it. So I'm very eager to hear these backed up Rise of the Golden Idol takes.
yeah, I'm swollen with all these takes. No, so the case of the Golden Idol was a short indie game that basically you would get a screen and it would be like a little vignette. For instance, the first one, the tutorial one, is, and they're all murders for the most part, especially in the first game, where, you know, there's a guy falling off a cliff, and then you'll investigate the different letters or things in the pockets, and you'll look at the trinkets and artifacts and piece together who the people are and the motive for the murder, how they died, etc., etc. And then there would be a large through line of like, oh, they're fighting for this golden idol and it's cursing and haunting this specific family. And this sequel still kind of follows that, but it's much more in the modern era. And it's much broader and it has much more complex things because it's dealing with like cults and They allude to substance abuse, or at least they mistake it for substance abuse for a little bit. But like there's a sort of like fun curse angle to it. But the actual meat and potatoes gameplay is looking at a vignette, clicking on the different things, figuring out the names, and figuring out who goes to what names, and that's sort of the puzzle of it. It's satisfying. I feel like the UI was greatly improved and babified for the sequel, Rise of the Golden Idol. I think what I liked about Rise of the Golden Idol was its ambition and scope increase. I was like, oh, this feels very natural and it feels very appropriate. What I didn't like was much more straightforward. Like going back to back between the games, I was like, oh, this is too easy. In some ways. Or it would be too hard, but in a way of like, oh, I could just do this back in the first one. In this one, I have to put it into this screen or something. Like, it was very confusing for me in that way. But that being said, I really liked Rise of the Golden Idol because of the interplay of the different things and the escalation. I feel like you also do more. There's side things that you have to figure out. Like, for instance, if it was a dinner party, you could, on a separate screen, figure out the seating arrangement, which doesn't super matter, but would also help you in solving the case at large. And there's a lot more of those in Rise of the Golden Idol, and it helps, and those are probably more fun than the actual mysteries, in my opinion.
Is this the same that did, what is that? Paradise Killer? That game you liked that you did an episode on way back when?
I did like Paradise Killer. I don't know if it's the same people, though. Paradise Killer is like an unofficial Daydreamcast episode because me and Pablo spent 40 minutes talking about it in Watcha Playin.
I see.
But yeah, I always like detective games. I feel like nothing like reaches the levels of like an Obra Dinn. But, like, in general, I love detective vibes, and I think Golden Idol scratches the itch for the most part.
You like flexing how big and veiny your brain is.
Mm-hmm.
How many folds there are.
Yeah,
it's
where
a lot of
she'll be able to wrinkles, yeah.
There's a joke about an immortal pillar here. I'm not...
You order these in a way that you can make a pun for the segue. What's the pun here?
Well, now that the Golden Idol is rising, you may realize it has a longer base than you think. It may actually be an immortal pillar.
What? That one was rough.
Say, is that a pun or just horny?
It could be a touch of both.
Are you hitting on us, Murph?
Age of
Murph, tell us about Age of Mythology.
Retold the Immortal Pillars. This is the first DLC for Age of Mythology Retold. Regular listeners of the podcast know that I am an Age of Mythology sicko. That is one of my favorite childhood games. I was very tickled to get a remake of it, but it was kind of also like just a remake. And now it's a little something more with this first DLC. And this adds a whole Chinese faction to the game. Now, originally there was a Chinese faction when they re-released Age of Mythology the first time, the extended edition. That was called Tale of the Dragon. But the thing with that expansion was it was bad. It was basically on the level of like a really good fan mod for a game, in that it's like, wow, you added a whole new faction to this 20-year-old game, but you did it by reskinning a lot of existing units, and the new units you added that are like new models look wildly out of place in this 20-year-old game, So with Immortal Pillars, it's ground up, whole new assets, whole new idea for how a Chinese faction would work in this game, and I kind of love it. I like playing as the Chinese in the few skirmish maps I have done. How factions work in Age of Mythology is like each culture plays completely differently from each other. The Greeks are sort of your well-rounded, we can do a touch of everything. The Egyptians, all their buildings are effectively like free. So they just like build a ton of buildings really fast. Their infantry's really cheap. And then you have the Norse, which is my favorite faction. They are entirely like the Zerg Rush. Their gatherers don't build buildings at all. They can only gather resources. Their infantry builds buildings. So as you're assaulting someone, you can just like start building a forward operating base. It's great. The Chinese kind of work as an inverse to the Norse. They're very much about turtling and going wide. They have this sort of like, they call it favored land, which means that each building has sort of a radius around it, and if you connect those radiuses back to your town center, you get certain buffs, especially the wider the radius expands. So you start like building these very expansive cities. Like I had a skirmish map where I was like almost taking up an entire like fifth of the map with my city, and I was just raking in the benefits. They do feel just a little bit like overtuned in a way that, like, I don't know, like a Smash Ultimate DLC character is a little overtuned, where they gave them, like, a few too many things they can do, and a lot of those things are like, but why do they need to do this? You know? Like, hero units are a big part of the game. It's how you kill myth units, which are, like, the super units of the game. Each civilization deals with hero units very differently. Greeks have singular, very expensive, but powerful myth units. Egyptians have very spammable myth units. The Chinese, they went for the singular, powerful myth units, but also the spammable myth units, and they can all have, like, 3 different activated abilities, which none of the other cultures can do. So it just kind of, in the moment, right now, feels like they're very overtuned, very overpowered. It will take a few months to see where they really settle in the meta.
Is Age of Mythology a RTS that you would recommend to people who, like, don't play those? Because I know it looks, every time I see it, it looks great, but, like, I don't really play those games. And, like, I know I would just buy it, and I would try it, and, like, I don't know if it would lock in for me.
So the reason why the fan base for Age of Mythology specifically are like rabid and loyal to the point they effectively bullied New Worlds into making a remake of it is that the campaign mode for it is just like better than any of the other Age of Empire games. And that was what made me loyal and rabid for the game. I'm not good at the game. Whenever I go through a hard mission on the campaign, I tend to cheat through them, and there are some fantastic cheats in Age of Mythology. You can summon a flying purple hippo that spits hearts on your enemies. You can summon a Canadian super bear with monkeys. You know, I think that it's a game that's probably easy to learn, hard to master. But if you're like me and you just play offline, it's a good time. I really like that all the civs play wildly different from each other. That means you can get some interesting matchups in it, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine I'd be like PvPing that. But
I've never touched PvP.
My experience with RTS has always been like a single player sort of thing anyway.
Yeah. And I will say Immortal Pillars does come with its own campaign mode. I can't say it's on the level of the original Age of Mythology campaign, and even for Retold, they recast the entire, like, game. So you're not even getting, like, the original experience. Modders have put in those original voice lines, but for Immortal Pillars, you're getting basically what the new talent is, and it just, the voice acting's really bad. It's it's like the biggest detractor for the expansion as a whole. The voice acting in the campaign's just not great.
Womp womp.
But sorry for talking so long about that.
I'm kind of sold on the Chinese faction, though, because you said turtle. I was like, oh, I'm kind of high-stakes defensive gameplay. You're selling me. I kind of like it.
Brogan, one of the powers the Chinese can do, it's called Earthen Wall. You can target any building you have, and it throws up this huge radius, hard to destroy wall around it. And since in Retold you can reuse god powers like that, you can just cover your base in these walls, and it won't matter because your units can walk through it, but your enemy has to like grind through it.
That sounds good. I like that. I like my opponents not having fun. That's really why I play multiplayer games.
I know, you play Axel.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, aren't you a Strive player? That sounds right.
Yeah, I'm a zoner. I want you to be on the other side of the screen. I want you to not have fun.
Yeah. As a Nagore Yuki player, I will just stay on the other side of the screen then. It's over for me. Sorry, brother.
But sorry for talking so much about Age of Mythology. I know it's a game that neither of you have much skin in. One may even say no skin.
I got no skin in the game, baby. I have played No Skin. It is an indie game. You can find it on Steam. It is the only game by the developer. Although I would highly recommend the game. It's only $7. It's comparable to like an itch.io game. I'm sure it is on itch.io. But it's an RPG roguelike. Basically, you will go into different floors or rooms. And I think what really sticks out to me is two things. Number one, you'll have a selection of, let's say, 3 to 4 rooms. And each room, when you hover over the option to choose the room you go to, tells you the percentages and likelihood of an encounter. It tells you which encounters will likely happen. Huh. You have a 30% chance to see the shopkeeper. You have a 60% chance to fight an enemy you fought before and you know who it is. Or maybe a 2% random motherfucking you have no idea what's going to happen chance. And I like knowing the odds before I go into something. It's something that keeps you aware, because as you go into more and you're starting to grind and build up your build for your character, there's like a ticking time each room you go into. And that's very interesting to me. And then the flip side of it is the combat system is bare bones enough to feel like, okay, I completely understand it first pass. But the more you play, the different characters you unlock sort of emphasize different elements of it. The basic gameplay is you have a little knife. It'll do 1 damage, but has like a 90% chance to hit. You'll have a gun with basically 5 bullets, and it will do 2 damage, but it'll have a 70% chance to hit. And you'll have to reload, but using items does not take any action in the inventory. Basically, you could use all of your inventory and still have your turn. So there's a lot of interplay in those elements. So like maybe you'll want to buff your gun or buff your hit rate or something, and like you'll juggle all of these things, and the different characters will emphasize different elements. For instance, there's one character where you basically have to, with your gun, kill the enemy on 0 HP. You can't overkill, but if you kill them on 0 HP, you'll have a choice between 4 things for a build. You can get an extra max HP. You can sacrifice max HP for an increase in rate or damage, and then you're like sort of balancing, okay, what do I want to do with that? It's all that stuff that really like reflects into the different characters. That's super fun. I really like it. It's just like a mindless thing for me. The aesthetic is also really like grungy and cool. I didn't really pay attention to the story, but I feel like the story is more of a vibe, and it works.
Well, I'm seeing here in the Steam description, face the horrors of the house and discover who the no-skin man truly is.
Yeah,
I kind of want to know about this no-skin man.
He's like the boss. He basically is like, you better bring me skin or else I'll kill you. And you're like, okay. And then you basically have, I don't know, 60 turns or however many rooms to find his skin. He's got to get his skin back.
His skin specifically. You just can't get anyone's skin.
No, you can't get anybody's skin.
See,
you can't wear my skin, Murph.
Yeah, I guess if I was missing mine, I would be like very interested in getting mine back. Like, it was mine.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. If it was a possibility to get my skin back specifically, I would like go for that first.
Yeah. Anyways, I recommend the game. It's only $7.
I think
so do it.
that's on my. Let me check actually right now. I think I put that on my wish list a while ago. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's exactly what I remember it is. It's like almost like a dungeon crawl sort of perspective in the combat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the monsters are fucking nuts looking. They're like, I am an angel with just teeth. I am a man who might just shoot myself. I don't know. Yep.
You never know what happens in the encounter, even if it's like an NPC that you fought before. The deeper you go, the more differences will happen, and I think it's super interesting when that happens because there's always a surprise. I'm always like, that didn't happen before. That's so novel, and I just really like it. It's a good vibe.
Well, you know what's not a great vibe?
Pyst.
Yeah. Pyst.
Pyst, like, the Myst, like, parody or something like that, right?
Yeah. Okay, you're familiar.
That's hilarious.
So this is a bit of an experimental Myst minute, in that I'm not talking about any actual Myst games. One of these, where I put on my playthrough list for my own curiosity, the other was for Brogan's curiosity.
Yeah.
So, Pyst was a 1996 parody of Myst. And you know it's a parody because it was made by Parody Interactive. This is...
You really pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah, a little on the nose there, guys.
Yeah.
Well, so they
broadened it out.
They also made parodies of Star Wars, The X-Files, and Windows 95.
Weird Al didn't call himself Parody Al, is all I'm saying.
So Pyst is... The premise is that Myst was such a successful game, 4 million global players, that Myst Island is now a tourist trap and a tip. It's a junkyard. And you are going there to explore it. You're given tour guides named Bob and Linda, and it's 8 screens, no puzzles, it's just jokes. Most of them, not even jokes about Myst, really. Like, you go into the Astrarium room, where you have to solve the boat puzzle in actual Myst. In this, the developers looked and saw that the buttons in that room were all star signs. So they make it in Pyst that you press one of them and you get your horoscope read by, like, what I'm assuming is a white dude doing an Indian guru accent.
In 96? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. This is, like, I can't get mad at it, because this is like getting mad at an issue of Mad Magazine, or, like, National Lampoon. This is like 101 jokes for children tier humor. But it does have John Goodman.
Not for very long. Spoiler alert, I saw a playthrough of this game. Murph, this is like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's 8 screens, and once you've clicked on everything, you've seen all the jokes. But John Goodman, because he was friends with the creator, appears. He is King Mattress, because in Myst, the man who owns Myst Island is named Atris, and he appears in a hot tub, and he gives what I can only call, like, the closest thing to a Myst joke in the game, which is that I can't remember what he specifically says, but he says, "Oh, sorry to be vague. I'm teasing the sequel."
Oh my god.
But in the extras menu of the game, you get a 10-minute making of video and a 4-minute honky tonk song by John Goodman titled "I'm Pyst." So,
Are those good? What's the best part of the game?
I guess the making of, because that's the part where I couldn't, it like got an extra star. Like, it was a half star, now it's a full star. Because, you know, it's hard to get mad at a thing when you watch, like, a behind the scenes and see it was just, like, a bunch of people making goofs and hanging out and having a good time, you know?
Yeah.
The actual game is trash, and it was kind of hard to find a playable version. But that's Pyst, and I think it is, like, interesting in the greater Myst playthrough oeuvre, because, like, it's not like Mario had a contemporary parody of it on store shelves, right? Like this was sold in grocery store checkouts. That's why it was so prolific and cheap. I actually read an interview with Rand Miller where he said it was funny to him that the cheap parody of Myst had a higher profile actor than actual Myst.
Yeah.
I don't know. Watch a YouTube video if you want to know what Pyst is. You'll get the vibe because, like Brogan said, it's a 20-minute game. There is one joke that did really get me. It's when you're in the library, and in the original Myst, there's the puzzle where you click, like, the painting, and it warps, and then the bookshelf lowers and reveals a secret passage. In this, you click the painting of the bookshelf, and there's just, like, a guy screaming, just like, "Ah!" And then the bookshelf shatters, like glass, books and all. And it was so sudden, it caught me off guard, and I just had to have a good little chuckle about that.
Instead of a jump scare, it was a jump chuckle. Like
a jump
happens all the
chuckle.
time.
It's funny to hear
is what they
that
called me in
game.
high school.
Or to hear that someone played it, because I've only ever heard that it existed. Like, I'd never known anyone to play it. I had never had, like, any personal interest in playing it. I just thought it was very interesting that, like, there's plenty of games that are sort of satirical and parodies of tropes and stuff, but there's very few games that are, like, a direct parody of another game.
Yeah.
It's funny to hear that this one isn't even really that much of a parody of Myst.
Not even. I think it just goes to show that, like, we just didn't have a lot to do in the 90s. So, like, dudes were getting together and being like, "Hey, I have an improv group. Let's make a parody of Myst." You know?
Yeah.
Like,
People were really bored before the phones. You know?
Yeah.
Murph, you gotta tell me about Drowned God. You gotta.
Jarrett, I'm so sorry that you have to be here for this particular episode. But Brogan, you can go fuck yourself. So Drowned God is, I guess we'll call it a Myst-like. It was released in 96, same year as Pyst, 3 years after Myst, 1 year before Riven. And it is... God, I'm gonna spend way too long talking about this. Okay, this is from a guy named Harry Horse, who was a Scottish political cartoonist who thought he could make it big, like his big get-rich-quick scheme was to make a fake manuscript from this poet called Richard Horne, talking about...
Is this real? Is this like a real thing?
Yes.
Or is this a bit?
No, this is real.
Okay, continue.
Harry Horse wrote a fake manuscript about 19th century poet Richard Horne, where Richard Horne is like, Richard Horne's secret diary, where he's talking about the Knights Templar, the Great Flood, aliens, etc., etc. And initially, people were like, "Oh my god, this is real," because it lines up with a lot of details about Richard Horne's real interests in the time period he lived in. And Harry Horse later revealed in an interview that he didn't know about any of that. He chose Richard Horne because Richard Horne is Harry Horse's real name, and he just found a dude from history that shared his name. But
Bizarre.
so he's outed. The manuscript is fake. Aliens are fake, or whatever. And later, Harry Horse plays Myst, and he's like, I could repurpose my fake hoax manuscript into this game. And salvage the get-rich-quick scheme. So that's what Drowned God is. It was purchased by Time Warner, because Time Warner had just started a games division, and they're like, oh, this seems interesting. Myst sold 4 million copies. Maybe we can get our own Myst. It was almost going to have all the narration was almost done by William S. Burroughs, the godfather of beat poetry, which is insane to me.
What a wild time.
So what Drowned God is this isn't covered in the game, it's covered in the manual, but you inherit something called the Bequest Globe, which is this alien spaceship, and upstairs at the spaceship, there's a computer, and in the computer is a man from the Men in Black who tells you to seek the secret artifacts, and downstairs there's a magic box that has a woman from the Knights Templar who tells you to seek the secret artifacts on behalf of the Knights Templar, and you warp to different realms or periods in history. One's Stonehenge, the other is Chichen Itza, the other is Aleister Crowley's apartment, and the final one is Roswell, New Mexico. And you recover the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Staff of Ra, and along the way you learn the secret history that aliens...
Did you unlock truths deep within us?
Look, like, this is real basic History Channel shit, you know? Like, it's just one of those conspiracy theory things where every famous person in history and event in history is, like, connected, right? Like, in the Stonehenge level, you find a secret workshop that belonged to Leonardo da Vinci, and, like, this is the game in a nutshell. You find the drawing of the Vitruvian Man, and you turn it over, and on the backside is the Vitruvian gray alien.
That's good. That's so good.
Like season 1 X-Files shit.
Yeah, basically,
yes.
like the Men in Black man, like, towards the end point of the game is like, you seem to be getting pretty chummy with our extraterrestrial friends. Perhaps you think you could work alongside them. JFK thought that, and look how that turned out for him.
This is good. This is a good game, right? It's a great game. Sounds great.
Okay, so, like, I guess on an aesthetic level, it is still using, like, the Myst, like, point-and-click, like, slideshow mechanics, right? And it is using those, like, early 3D computer graphics that I'm nostalgic for. So it gets points there. Like, I will not deny this game doesn't have an atmosphere. It's just that it's just nonsense. And not even from, like, the conspiracy angle, but from the, I can't understand what anyone's saying to me because the audio is mixed horribly and they're all speaking in fucking riddles.
Yeah.
But more than that...
Are the puzzles good?
I was going to bring up the puzzles. So more than that, the puzzles are not Myst puzzles. Right, so Myst had a very particular kind of puzzle, where it was, like, much more fiddly. It was about, like, cause and effect, figuring out how machinery worked. This is actually more in the vein of something like The Seventh Guest, where these are, like, puzzles. These are, like, 100 brain teasers to do during your morning coffee. It's board games. At one point, you literally play the game Nine Men's Morris. And the fucked up thing about playing Nine Men's Morris and Drowned God is that Nine Men's Morris is a solved game. There is an optimal strategy to play it, and the AI knows that optimal strategy. So you have to play a perfect game against a perfect game. I played Nine Men's Morris for 45 minutes.
Damn.
What else? Roswell was a cover-up, but not how you think. It was actually that humans there started turning into pigs because humans are actually a hybrid of pigs and humans, the first of them being Noah.
Murph, you have no idea. Every time you drop a bombshell, I'm going to edit in a sound effect, like a stock, like suspense, like to really emphasize the bombs you're dropping right now.
The last puzzle of this game is listening to 5 minutes of, like, coast-to-coast FM, so you can get a phone number to punch in, and then you can call one of the pigmen, and he runs off with the Ark of the Covenant. So this game only is on my radar because Brogan pointed it out to me, and I think the only reason it was on his radar is because it inexplicably got, like, a re-release on the Epic Games Store, by the creator of the Unreal Engine. I forget his name.
I don't even know how that worked out. Yeah, but yeah.
So, someone out there believes, you know?
Good for them. Good for them. That's what I say.
It's for the believers, for the thinkers.
Tim Sweeney.
I want to believe.
Yeah.
Tim Sweeney commissioned this re-release.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's wild.
What a terrible,
he loves this game.
a terrible group of words.
Yeah. Just all of it's bad. Bad vibes, all of it.
I guess it does put into perspective that Myst is not easy to replicate, right? Like, you can't just, like, do an ooh-woo mysterious atmosphere and a point-and-click interface and slideshow visuals, and you just have a Myst, right? You actually gotta, like, work that shit, you know?
Yeah. You gotta make it cohesive. It has to make sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything of note. There's one good puzzle. That isn't, like, a board game. And it's, you have to assemble a conversation between Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein on the nature of infinity. And you do this by, you have these two talking busts. One's Albert, one's Isaac. I'm on a first-name basis. And you walk through rooms that are past, present, and future, and the busts will say a different line in the conversation, and then you click a button to, like, lock it into that part of the conversation you're in. That's a good puzzle. It is ruined by the fact that the game manual tells you the solution. In fact, that's most of the puzzles in the game, because most of the puzzles don't give... Because they're board games, you have to go to the manual and learn what the rules are.
Yeah. Well. What is next, Murph?
So, next is... Theoretically, next will be Riven. So finally, we're back on the Myst path.
Back to the banger, the best one.
Sure, Jan. We're back to Riven, so I will replay original Riven and see if my thoughts have changed on it. Then, this gets tricky. Next one would be Real Myst 3D, which was the second remake of Myst. It was the one where it's like, oh, it's in a real 3D environment. You can walk around the island. The issue is, I can't actually find any, like, playable copies of Real Myst 3D. It's been eclipsed by its 2014 re-release, Real Myst Masterpiece Edition, but that's not the same game.
Can you not find it on abandonware sites?
No, I haven't found it on abandonware. I haven't found it, like, anywhere that's, like, playable. At most, I found a sketchy Russian copy on archive.org.
Nice. That's safe, by the way. You could download.
Yeah, that feels like the only way to play it.
Yeah. But yeah. I do have a backup solution just in case. And that is literature, motherfucker. I have what is called the Myst Reader, which is a compilation of 3 books Robin Miller put out pre-Myst, actually, that is basically, like, they're Myst novels. And I have a physical copy, and I will read through that and report back.
Oh, it'll become a book club. That's so fun.
Yeah. I secretly love novels based on video games. I've read all the God of War novels. They're all terrible.
I can't wait till you get to the Doom novels. When you do your Doom playthrough, that'll be fun.
Well, then you learn about Doomslayer's bunny rabbit.
And you'll learn about Mormonism.
Is that right? Oh, yeah, I guess you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Alright, guys, are we ready for the Variety Minute?
Yeah, I've been pissed, I've been drowned, I'm drowning in piss.
Yeah. Alright guys, this week's Variety Minute is New Game Plus and Replay Mechanics. The game of the week is Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, and a little bit of a spoiler alert, the game focuses a little bit on replaying the game, going back and starting over, and continuing with progress. So we've got a list of games here. Murph has written them down, but I have some picks as well. And I think it's a pretty broad topic because it doesn't just have to be carrying progress over. It doesn't have to be new game plus shit, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, like, some games, like, change with a new game plus. Like, it's written into the plot that you're replaying it, you know?
Yes.
An easy one would be to say, like, time loop-ass games. Like, I think, you know, you could say Outer Wilds, technically, or something like, I don't know, Return to Obra Dinn has a sort of a loopy narrative to it. I was looking more at games like Dragon Quarter, where things change on replay. It is part of the designer's intent that you're going to replay it, and that's how you get the full narrative.
There's games like Returnal, where it kind of hides the fact that it's kind of like a straightforward narrative by making you replay it. What you're replaying till you get to a point, and then, you know, things change. Then you replay it till you get to another point, and then things change again. So it's not it's not as strict as you finished it, but now that you finished it, you go back and, like, the game you played through again is different. It's kind of like smaller games are trying to, just like smaller games inside it that are trying to make you replay. In the same way Nier Automata does, where you're playing different. Every chapter has a credit screen, but, like, you're really playing it linearly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a singular experience, not one experience over and over again. Although I will say, I got 2 examples that I talk about, and they're different. One of them is literally not a fundamental changing gameplay or story. It is just carrying over, but you can reset the game at any time. Is Dead Rising. The original Dead Rising, I was a young lad playing that game, and the thing that really got me through was restarting, especially when you failed the story missions and you start fucking around. Because, like, I think your gut instinct in playing Dead Rising the first time is, I want to go and have fun. I want to experiment with the mall. I want to do this and that. And then the story will fall by the wayside, and then at a certain point in time you're going to get bored and be like, wait 1 second, I want to go back to it. So that reset feature that allows you to keep your levels really helps with that. And I feel like that is, it's not a harsh punishment or anything. It's more so an incentive, because you're like, oh, I'm going to go through this portion of the game and have a much better time. The one that I feel is really good for a new game plus, a replay over, where things are different, is Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2, we didn't say this in the episode, but it has, like, fundamental changes. The biggest changes are item differences or enemy layouts or new enemies entirely. But, like, I think the biggest one to note is, Murph, do you remember the giant spider boss?
Yes, the Duke's Dear Freya.
Yes. In New Game Plus, Duke's Dear Freya literally pops out throughout the entire level. Like, he pops out once on the cliff, and you fight him on the cliff. And then once you get him to half health, he drops down. And then when you fight him, he's at half health in the actual boss battle. Stuff like that is like a very fundamental difference. And the game is also much more inclined for, like, it gives you new souls, new experiences. The game was very built for replayability in mind. So I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vagrant Story has a pretty interesting New Game Plus too.
Yeah, it does.
There's a bunch of doors you can't open at all during your first playthrough. You can't open until you get something at the end of your playthrough that you can then return to the game with and then open doors with.
I just want to say the game I thought about most playing, Dragon Quarter, was Vagrant Story, and both you and Brendan are like, these are fucking RPG ass games. You guys are sickos.
2000 to 2002 were like a formative year in my life because those games like that came out in that range. Just fucked my whole life up.
I think about like something like the most recent Hitman games, where playing through them multiple times is like the core thing of it. If you're playing through the campaign like each area once, I'm going to say you have not played that game correctly, because the point is going back, unlocking new areas to start from, unlocking new tools to play with, and just, getting weird with it. Like, oh, I've unlocked the fish weapon. I'm going to go around and see if I can kill the target with a fish.
Yeah, especially since when you kill someone a particular way, you might open up opportunities that didn't exist before to do it an even more different way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Hitman, the actual pitch for, like, if I ever made a Hitman movie, it would be James Bond with Groundhog Day. And you would just get bored with it, and you would just, like, experiment. You'd see the patrols. I think, like, existing in the world and paying attention to the patrol routes of the different NPCs or the different things you can fuck with in the systems, they're just so satisfying.
Yeah, I think, like, it's also in the vein of something like Resident Evil does this a lot, where sometimes your first run through a Resident Evil game feels like a trial mode for the second playthrough, where you know where everything is and you can speed run it. And by speed running it, you get better end scores and you unlock just goofy bonus modes. Like, oh, now I have the unlimited grenade launcher and I'm just gonna churn through this game that once frightened me. I think stuff like that is great for a New Game Plus.
And especially 4, like the original 4 was like,
it's crazy
really,
stuff you can unlock.
Like fundamentally, like, changed the way the rest of that series sort of appreciated that thing they were already doing. Like, and then they started remaking these games, and now, like, you play through it once and that's cool, you turn the difficulty up or whatever, and now the zombies are different. Like, now you have to shoot them in the head. You can kill them once, but they can get back up. Like, the body, you can't trust anybody anymore. They're in different places. Like, just a really cool way to turn this 10 to 15 hour thing into, like, such an experiment.
I think that, like, there's some that are, like, on the periphery, right? That are, like, again, like, time loop games. Like Majora's Mask. It's not necessarily a game you play through to credits multiple times, but the fact that it's a looping narrative means that there's certain storylines you can only see in one, like, run of the 3 days. Like the Anju Cafe, like, storyline. That's effectively, like, an entire side story, a side campaign you can do.
Yeah. Yes. Legend of Mana is like that too, where it's all about placing the locations, which change the way stories appear, but you can only place them once. So, like, if you place them in the wrong place, you might get to the end of the game faster, but you might be missing large chunks of it because of just how X and Y interact with each other.
A recent example that popped up in my research that I didn't see many people talk about, and maybe because the game it's attached to, Starfield does something pretty wild with its New Game Plus, where when you get to the end of Starfield, you basically, like, create an alternate universe, and the New Game Plus is you inserting yourself into that alternate universe with your prior, like, self already existing. And you can skip the main plot by going up to, like, the main quest givers and being like, oh, here's the secret of the aliens. I've made a new universe. And then the plot unfolds differently. Characters react to you differently because you're this, like, Star Child-esque presence in their world.
Oh, see, Murph, they copied that story from the New Game Plus of Mario Galaxy. In Mario Galaxy, when you get 100%, you become Luigi, but Luigi is already pre-existing in that universe. So when you play it, you unlock the secrets of reality. I mean,
I forgot about that. I forgot they didn't change Luigi to Mario. It's just a second Luigi.
Yeah.
Why isn't he playable in Mario Party? Where's Luigi's twin?
The Star Child twin, who knows? Who knows, man?
Yeah, the deep dimensional god Luigi.
I also learned that New Game Plus as a term was coined by Chrono Trigger. Either of you have experience with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it's because of the timeline things. And, like, when you first play the game and you're going through the time things, you wonder if you can do things differently. And then in New Game Plus, you can. That's the long and short of it.
See,
like, it's super fun to break things.
Yeah. Do you guys typically play... Well, I guess, Jarrett, for you, back when you had, like, time. But do you typically play a New Game Plus? Like, do you just immediately beat the game and be like, all right, I want to jump back in, but now I keep all my stuff?
No, like, I've never... Unless someone tells me things are different and you should see it, no, I'm not...
I'm the same way.
I'm not playing it again, probably.
Yeah. I play games again, but I'll usually play them years later, and that's usually when I'll revisit the New Game Plus content.
See, I like to unlock stuff. I like to build an arsenal, and the idea of going into New Game Plus and being like, oh, you just have your most powerful stuff at the start. I don't know, that's not incentivizing to me, you know? The only one I ever did it with was Days Gone, because Days Gone, one of the New Game Plus options is survival mode, which makes the game harder. You don't have a map, a lot of the UI elements are reduced. So having all those guns you've already unlocked is kind of like helps even the playing field a little bit.
Right, yeah, you have to like really appreciate the playing field in and of itself to want to for that experience. And I don't know that I've played many games. Like, it's definitely more possible for shorter games. Like if your game is 10 hours, there's a great chance I'll replay it, maybe.
Yeah. Oh wait, time out. I do have to say what I completely forgot. I've been looking at this list and it called out to me. Armored Core, especially Armored Core 6.
Yes.
Highly recommend playing multiple times because you'll have... In Armored Core, you choose missions. You're basically a mercenary and you choose the jobs you do. But in New Game Plus, you have your options open up to where you can do more branching storylines and you can see things that happen. And it gives you new insights and it's super, super cool. Very worth it.
I have written down here, Shadow the Hedgehog exists.
Yes.
That has New Game Plus.
That has a lot of New Game Plus.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, it's got not 500, it's got like 30 endings.
Yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog has more endings than Mass Effect 3.
Huh.
But the only way to get the true ending is to see all the other pre-existing endings. So you have to play through these branching paths, like, God, it's a lot. It's a lot of times. You really have to love Shadow the Hedgehog.
There's one out there. I know.
I can't. No way.
It's weird, Brogan. Like, we don't see. Why do you feel we don't see like any indie titles being like, oh, here's our take on Dead Rising, or Dead Rising's like mechanics?
Because you mean like revisiting or like restarting?
Yeah, kind of like that, or just like the time limit
or the
with
Breath
the
of
restarting.
Fire thing?
Yeah.
I feel like, first of all, a time limit, and technically speaking, I don't want to say it has a time limit, but Breath of Fire with the steps and the percentage in the corner, alright, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Basically, it's player hostile. And I feel like, especially for indie devs, I mean, like, there are indie devs that want to make a game hard, but time limits and things like that are difficult, and oftentimes the ability to replay, like the offer to restart your progress, yes, it is a good thing, and it is to offset that harsh penalty. But it doesn't feel like that when you're just when you bought the game for the first time and you've loaded it up. It's not like a thing to put on the back of the box.
Okay, I was just curious, because I do know, like, Dead Rising is one of those, like, cult classic games, and those are the ones that tend to, you know, skip the 30-year cycle of culture, and people will just be like, I want to make my own Dead Rising, right? Rather than waiting for, like, the PS3, Xbox 360 revival, you know?
Well, I think also sandbox things in general, especially, like, tech-wise, like, Dead Rising sells itself on sandbox, and it sells itself on, like, thousands of zombies on screen at once. Shit like that you can't just do as an indie dev. You know what I mean? Like, that's tech. I don't know. And do you have others for the list, Murph?
Only stupid ones. I put down The Quiet Man. Remember that game?
No.
Isn't
that
like,
the same as the Bye Bye Man? What is that?
No, it's not even the No Skin Man.
Yeah.
The Quiet Man was a Square Enix, like, beat-em-up brawler game, but it had FMV cutscenes. But the catch was...
this is relatively recent. That game sucked.
Yeah. The catch was the main character was deaf, so all the cutscenes had no audio. But if you beat the game on the hardest difficulty, you unlock New Game Plus, where now the cutscenes have audio?
You're cured.
Is that incentivizing?
Does that do anything for you?
What if an insane, like, caveat, like, you've earned it. You've earned sound. Congratulations.
Yeah, you're no longer disabled. Like, what kind of message is that?
I think The Bouncer, another weird Square game, had some New Game Plus stuff too, which is really just like more branches and like different versions of bosses and stuff.
I feel like the PS3, Xbox 360 era had a lot of things where it's like you get the true ending by beating the game on New Game Plus. Like, because that's back when, like, achievements and gamer score meant something, so they really wanted to incentivize you to go after that stuff. It's not something
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I think with that HD era, there was also a lot of time and money investment into environments, and like because of the production cost increase, they probably felt like they had to milk it for all it's worth. So you'd make a shorter game, and then you would try to draw it out either by a bunch of fetch quests or this or that, and then New Game Plus was probably one of the things.
So, that and like tagging a multiplayer on.
Yes. Yeah.
Really.
BioShock 2's multiplayer, though, let me just say.
No, actually, though.
yeah. All right. Guys, are we ready for the game of the week?
Yeah. Our game of the week is Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, a 2002 role-playing game from Capcom for the PlayStation 2 exclusive. It is the 5th entry in the Breath of Fire series. The game takes a different approach from prior Breath of Fire games. In those games, you were in this sort of pastoral fantasy environment, and towards the end, you would head underground and find these interesting technological ruins. In this game, you start in the ruins as a character named Ryu, who lives in a dystopian environment where your self-worth is determined by how close you are to a dragon, ? Through the game, Ryu comes in contact with a young girl named Nina, who has been turned into a living air filter for the communities underground. She will die shortly due to the toxic environment, so Ryu commits himself to fighting his way to the surface. Along the way, they pick up a young rebel named Lin and run... Oh. Sorry, my computer just, really froze. Okay. They pick up a young girl named Lin and run into Ryu's old partner, Bosch, who is jealous of Ryu's new dragon powers. The game utilizes a sort of replay-restart mechanic called SOL, where you can reload to a prior save, saves are very limited, like Resident Evil, to start where you left off, but you will have reduced inventory and reduced stats. Or you can start the whole game from the very start, keeping all your gear and stats, while also unlocking new scenes to cut scenes that you did not see prior. With that all said, how did we feel about Dragon Quarter?
Jarrett, would you like to go first since you're the guest?
If you want to talk about player hostile,
yeah,
let me introduce you to Breath of Fire 5 Dragon Quarter, a game that is not interested in you having fun, really. I think I always remember this game being really sort of like aggressively bold. Like, there's no need for anyone to cook like this. I remember reading interviews like, no one asked for this, but they were like, people really love 3. They like 4. But I guess they were just fucking tired of making those games. So they were like, let's do something completely
different. Those are baby
different.
games.
Just this game is hostile in lots of ways. Like, not only it's difficult, right? Like, straight up, like, enemies, if you don't take them seriously, will absolutely fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Healing and just access to items is not necessarily limited, but is inconsistent. Like, you can walk away from a shop with like 30 heal kits and like feel like completely invulnerable, and then 2 floors later lose them all, and then they've all been replaced by like 7 lightning skills that you can only use once on one character, and now you're fighting on the battle on several fronts. Like, you're running out of actual inventory space to carry anything useful. You're running out of healing potions to get you through to the next shop, and everything here, if you haven't killed it yet, will find you and wants to kill you. So do you walk all the way back to like resell your inventory, sell stuff, buy stuff? Do you push forward not knowing what's going to happen next, and like if it's a boss fight, then surprise, you walk into a boss fight? Every room is full of monsters you don't know until you see them. So like, hopefully when you see them, you have already kind of figured out like a strategy, or like you have items and weapons on hand to like adjust on the fly, because like they're coming.
This game, I feel like what I like most about it is also the friction. This is a game where you have to like the friction. It's, you know, a really good example is like, okay, it goes a lot into risk reward, for instance. Like, for instance, it's like, okay, I've completely fucked up. I'm about to fucking die. It's time to go dragon mode. But the problem with dragon mode is it's like adding to your fucking D counter in the corner, and if it hits 100, it's an automatic game over. So you, and you, spoiler alert, you need to save like a decent bit for the final boss, so you can't just fucking whip it out. you have to like plan, and like every moment, every step you take, every battle, and every battle has you move, it increases that percentage. I feel like what really makes that special is that every interaction you have matters. I like the space. I like entering a room, seeing the enemies, and accounting for the space, accounting for the terrain, seeing what I'm behind, seeing what I can go in, or like what my magic goes through. I like accounting for all of that stuff, and I have multiple nuke buttons of I give up. It's either fuck it, I give up dragon mode. Fuck it, I give up. I'm restarting this fucking game. Or fuck it, I give up. I'm reloading from my save token. Like you have multiple ways to accommodate for the friction. But that being said, this game does not make any compromises.
No, I was wondering, how did I fucking get through this when I was like 13 or whatever? What was going on back there that I felt like a genius? Apparently, what the real answer was, I had the strategy guide. I had the Brady strategy.
There you go.
But there's so much of this game that like you just would not know if there wasn't something telling you. Like stealing, for example, in the beginning is like until you get Lynn's active ability to actively steal from creatures, the only way you can steal from anyone is if they hit you and you have the ability equipped. And there are so many things
Lynn's
in the
steal ability is not guaranteed. You have to find that.
You have to find it first, yeah. And even someone hitting you does not guarantee you'll steal from them. And there are things you can only get from stealing. Like, you have one opportunity to get a skill called Fang from Bosch the one time you fight him early in the game. If you didn't get it, you don't have it. And you're not going to have it. There's Jolts, the spell Jolt, you can only really get from a certain kind of monster pretty early. And if you didn't know that, because these things don't really attack you either, so you got to go find them and kind of make them attack you, and hopefully you steal it from them. Like, it takes some sort of, I don't want to say bravery because he's not the troops, right? Like, but it does take a confidence in the thing you're doing to just put so much of that behind just a random chance. Like, hopefully you just discovered it, and that when you find it and it happens to you, you then take that interest to go try everything else and see if it happens to you there too. That crosses over to the skills, like in the combos. Skills cost AP. They are assigned to your weapons, and they come in different tiers. So they either cost 10, 20, or 30. They're usually, that tiering also, the cost also usually correlates to the strength. Like 30 AP is usually stronger. But you can use them in succession, which every attack you make will do more damage than the last one. But if you link particular attacks together in a specific way, you might create a new attack. Which is a system that sort of requires experimentation to find these new sort of combos you can make. In real like interrogation, you find that there's very little actual special combos to be made for two of the characters, and then one, Lynn, who has all of them basically. But I can't imagine like someone seeing this happen for the first time, seeing you get X-Slash for the first time on Ryu, and like, damn, maybe everything Ryu does something like that, and then you spend 10 hours trying to make it happen again, and there's nothing. Versus Lynn, where you might do it by accident, where like 3 or 4 abilities just make something cool, and you can do that forever. It's so interesting in that era where like the only thing, if you didn't buy a strategy guide, the only thing you would have is like a GameFAQs like message board to like see who else has found
with
stuff.
Some ASCII art, some ASCII shit where it's got like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
Like, yeah, who did this? Just in slashes and asterisks.
Yeah. Murph, you've been quiet. What do you think about the game?
There was a social media post I saw a while back, I think start of the year, where it was like, there are so many games that came out when I was a child that I never gave the time of day because they were named stuff like Shadow Crystal 7, Song of the Sky. So I remember actually seeing this game in stores, right? And I didn't think much of it because I was like, oh, that's a JRPG thing. I don't play those. So let me say right now on this podcast that this is one of my favorite games we've ever covered on this show. I love this game.
It is my favorite 3 out of 5 of all time. Like, this is the standard for a game that is like, what the fuck are you doing? But also, I can't turn away.
I don't know. I think this game is, like, actually close to being an ideal version of itself. It just stumbles in a lot of, like, little bug bites that kill it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that, like, the tension of the D gauge is fantastic. Because you're right, this game is brutal, but you have a win button. And unlike a lot of other games, your win button is an actual, like, win button. The dragon mode kills everything, even the final bosses, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just annihilate dudes. But it ticks up your dragon gauge. And I was kind of thinking early on that, like, oh, surely there's going to be, like, a secret area or a secret boss you go through, and you unlock an item that's like, oh, reduces your dragon gauge by 25% or something. No, what you have for your dragon gauge, you're stuck with, you know?
Yep.
The only way to reduce it is to start again, to start over.
Yeah, and even then, it's like, I did do that at one point towards the end, where I just, like, I didn't have the stats. And I was like, okay, let's see what doing the SOL restore and restart. That's one of the things I would change. I would make the restore and restart a little clearer, what you're doing there. Probably something that was explained in the manual.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's appropriately named because you really are shit out of luck when you and the thing is, you keep all your experience. You have like a banked experience, party XP that you can dole out to your party members, and that carries over for you when you restart from the very beginning. And using that and all of like the super gear I had, I was able to get to like the ice area in an hour. Skipping cutscenes, of course, but like, you know, it really, when you're going through it, it feels like such a slog, oh, I'm going inch by inch through these dungeons and running back to buy more healing items or to save or something. And then you like get through it and you think, that was only like 3 rooms.
Yes. Yeah, and then when you go back and you replay, you're like, oh, this is a much brisker pace. It's kind of smart in that way.
Yeah, I don't, like, and I love the vibe of it. I know this is very different from other Breath of Fire games. I know this is considered, like, the black sheep that killed the series.
I was shocked to, like, see the comments on, like, I just looked up random shit. It's like, people hate this game.
But what's funny is people are also coming around to it now. Like, this was certainly one of those, like, cases where it was probably before its time a little bit. Like, people did not want this then, because they wanted the other thing. And we play games far differently now. And this is certainly something that if this happened in 2010, I think it would have changed games the way Dark Souls changed, right? But instead it happened 10 years earlier, and nobody would wanted to play those things yet.
No, this is a game for wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's such a the vibe is also something I prefer over the more mainline Breath of Fires. I like the idea of, not that it's doing a whole lot of social commentary, right? But it is playing to a dystopia that I think speaks to me more than like a fantasy world where like we've run underground because we can't live on the surface anymore, and it's getting worse down there too.
I mean, like, looking at the older Breath of Fires, yeah, I think the pixel art is really, really pretty, especially among their competitors and contemporaries. But this is beautiful to me in a much more unique way. The cell shading, the filter, I fucking love the music. The music's by the same guy as the Vagrant Story guy, right?
Very. It sounds, and as soon as like a boss fight happens, you're like, this is Vagrant Story music.
Yeah. Oh. It just looks and feels so cool, and like what's going on in it is like interesting and fun, and I feel like I didn't see all the New Game Plus scenes or whatever, but I feel like I have enough to care and be invested, but I don't have enough to piece together everything.
Some of the, like, I think the plot as is, without the SOL scenes added, is enough because it's just vague enough that you feel like there's this greater world, this greater story going on, but ultimately, it's like what the narration says at the start. This is a tiny tale. This is about 3 people that just want to escape their repressive lives and just see the fucking sky. And, like, you go through all the regions at the top of the world, and they have these, like, interesting personalities and, like, talk to each other with this, like, shared history that you're just not privy to. And you kind of, like, get the feeling that, like, maybe even they don't know why they're doing this anymore. It's just being done because it's the way things have always been done. You know, and you're just breaking that cycle through this small act of resistance.
And an old critique of the game was that, like, the characters themselves don't do much growing. There's, like, not a lot of arc for these characters. The irony being, like, Bosch is probably the biggest character in the story, and he's your, like, nemesis. He's the one that goes through the most change.
He's your Gary Oak, like
he's your Gary Oak, but if you followed him, if he was treated like a protagonist, like Gary only kind of shows
Riku
up to fight
from Kingdom Hearts.
But someone say he's the Riku of Dragon Quarter.
Bosch immediately gives, like, fucker energy when you meet him. I was like, oh, this is my companion, this guy?
And he's like, my D ratio is high. I am promised the future, and everyone who isn't should be, like, they should be happy to help me, to sacrifice whatever they need to get me to that next level, because nobody does. So, like, why wouldn't you want to be a link on the chain of pulling me out of this place? And then every time he is met with, like, a no, you watch him react to that.
Yeah, he goes fucking crazy at the idea that you are just that much better than him. Honestly, yeah. Like, I think what this game does really well in its cutscenes is it does the Vagrant story approach, where they're framed more like comic book panels, right? Like, the text bubbles are very strategically placed, and the angles are very exact. And that allows them to do stuff like when Bosch betrays you, and he, like, literally twists the blade. Like, that's visceral. That's shocking, right?
Yes.
One of the things I would adjust is I do find a lot of the character models in cutscenes have these very kind of dopey neutral expressions, particularly the main character, where it's very a lot of blank faces until it's like, oh, it's now my turn to emote in the scene, you know?
Mm-hmm. I don't think that is done artistically. That's probably done just like a resource thing in the where the stills and tech bubbles can be used as an art, like you said, as comic book strips. Even the way the camera moves in between the stills feels more cinematic than just like getting the camera somewhere. In the same way Vagrant Story did, where like the motion of the camera is its own sort of personality. It does like not carry through to the models themselves a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm. Well, they needed Ryu's ass hanging out like Ashley Riot.
That's true. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Lynn has a tail, and I couldn't figure out if that was just like her belt or she actually had a tail. Because in the full motion like cutscene at the very end, it's just like swaying on its own.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I personally liked the personal story. It reminded me a little bit of Eco because Nina can't talk really, and then Ryu, like it just had that very like innocent love vibe that I really enjoy and I get a kick out of.
Eco meets Vagrant Story is kind of how I was thinking about this game coming into this podcast.
That kind of makes sense. Yeah, I definitely see it. Obviously, some Gurren Lagann. There's a little bit of everything
more than a bit of Gurren Lagann.
maybe a dash.
She's literally called Nina.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the previous characters in the Breath of Fire always stars Ryu and Nia.
Yeah.
Like those are repeating names. Yeah, like that's
if there are any tropes that are consistent here, there's a Ryu and a Nina. The Ryu is probably possessed by a dragon, and there's weird shit underground.
And Nina has wings.
Yeah, Nina has some sort of wings. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the reveal that those aren't wings, those are air filters. Those are her lungs.
Yeah, when the scientist dusts them off, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oof. I can't get over, it's not just the percentage of the core. It's the fucking inventory, guys. The inventory is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I have to this is Resident Evil shit, where I have to, debate on what to have.
Yeah, you have to start, measuring, how much money does this probably sell for? Because I don't fucking need this, but I might need this.
Do I really need 3 tonics? I can probably get through this area without dying.
I can probably live if I'm blinded. I didn't bring any high drops, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. There's definitely, when you reach that midpoint with, the black market, area, that is, the most relieved I have felt in a video game in a long time. The music's nice and calm. It's oh my god, all the shops are here. You know?
Yes. Thank God.
I can get something other than this +1 sword.
I gotta highlight the environments again. It's not just the rooms and how cool the terrain is, because most of the time it's pretty simple. But the flooded shopping mall is so cool to me. Yeah.
It's just you feel the history here, and the fact that it's so dystopian, right? It's one of my favorite elements is always on screen is showing how far you are from the surface in terms of meters. And recognizing when you restart the game, it's oh my god, I am a full kilometer underground. And then you get right before you get to center, where the regions live, and everything's nice and shiny. The people there are just talking about the most mundane crap. And it's oh, you're only 300 meters from the surface, you know?
Yeah. It's a huge world of difference. And I like climbing out of the pit. It's a fun inverse of the dungeon crawl. Typically in a dungeon crawl, you're going down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do want to, if we want to talk about in-game stuff, I want to highlight, and again, this game is filled with stuff that should frustrate me based on precedent of things I've said. For instance, the Regent boss fights are, I'm going to say, some of the most evil, diabolically designed boss fights in any RPG.
Yeah! This shit's mean. It's mean.
And it's designed that way to make you use the dragon. Because it doesn't want you to slink. It doesn't want you to let you off the hook on that. It's such an interesting sort of devil's bargain that, and the idea being you're saving it for the hard stuff, but especially until you get to mid game, you can get through a lot of these boss fights pretty easily just by being tactical. But those regents are you have 2 turns before I rip your fucking face off. So make a decision.
Yeah, because they have this thing that's called ABD, which is absolute battle defense or something like that. Basically, you can only damage them if your combo goes over a certain threshold. So you're literally killing them with bug bites. And if you didn't, this is the classic JRPG check of did you grind? Did you grind a lot or did you grind a little? Because if your
what's
final
your loot looking like?
Yeah.
What kind of sword are you? What kind of sword are you packing? Yeah. No, it's... Ugh.
Yeah, how many pluses on that sword? Oh, only 1?
Yeah.
Sorry, brother.
But I don't mind it because you have that win button. You always have that tension. And it's okay, I know from looking at this guide that I'm going to face 3 bosses. Can I get by using D mode on only one of them? But which one should I use it on? You know? Man, the Cupid fight is fucked up. The Jesuit fight is even more fucked up.
Yeah, the Jesuits are fucked up, yeah. How dare they?
I don't mind it because it's you get this visceral feeling of like, no, I am chopping down your health bar. I have found the winning strat. I don't need D mode. And then you get to the very last boss, and it's like, oh no, I still don't have enough D mode.
Yeah.
That is one of my starkest memories of this game, is like finding a way to play through it at like minimum D mode, like maybe like in the teens still, and like gonna save it all for that last fight. And then you have like 2 opportunities to like really get it in, and if 80%'s not enough, then sorry, brother, you didn't farm hard enough, because this is over for you.
Yeah. I think the moment where this game clicked for me, as far as like the tension with the D gauge, is I don't think Bosch is actually involved in it. It's when you're ambushed by all the Rangers, and you have this really hard group fight with all these Rangers, and I was like, okay, I had to use D mode for that just to like finish them off because I had no healing. At least it's over. Then they bring in a mech, and it's like, okay, well, I gotta use D mode on the mech now. And then it's like,
Yeah.
And then the Ranger captain steps in for a third phase. It's like, oh god, I'm just gonna restart the whole thing and bring a lot of healing next time.
Call a mulligan on this one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this game's sick. This game is tough. I love it and I hate it at the same time.
Ripe for some modernization, in my opinion. But like, man, this is like a hidden gem, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you would need to tweak much. Like, I know saying quality of life with a game like this would like turn some noses, but I think you just a few things, maybe with like the menuing, maybe making the final regions like a little easier, you know, just so they feel possible, right?
Yeah, I would think I would change maybe how this. I'd change really more like literally quality of life, like interactivity stuff. So like menuing, but also like the camera is
the camera's
a frustrating thing,
a bit of a jerk,
because you can't look in 3D, but things are in 3D. So like if there's something flying over an obstacle, you can't see it. So it's hopefully you can push Lynn's gun in time and she can just shoot off screen and you hit it, or otherwise you're getting ambushed.
I know. Look, no other game has made me salivate at seeing a swarm of pink and purple maggots.
I wanted to cite here, I keep going back to the environment because it's always what sticks with me, is there are a lot of times where you're like, I don't want to fucking fight these guys. Like, in your brain, you're like, I'm not going to survive unless I get to the next fucking room, or I have to go around these motherfuckers. And so, like, there's a button you can do where you dash. It'll take up a little bit of your D gauge, but it's not the same as going dragon mode or whatever. And you can, like, bulldoze them a little bit, or, like, you're always doing, like, a little tiptoe dance, like, you're a running back trying to dodge. I just love it. That shit's so fun to me.
And you can also do stuff like lay down traps or throw distractions. Like, that's something I did a lot early on, and then I restarted a few times, so I had a stronger build. And then I was able to chop down most enemies pretty well. I'm honestly surprised if they didn't rely too much on the, I forget the term they use, but like the rooms where the doors lock on you and you can't progress until you've beaten anything.
Danger rooms, I think, yeah.
Danger rooms. There's only like, I don't know, 3 or 5 in the whole game, really?
Yeah, I think that's one of those mechanics that were like, they mention it and you expect to see more of it, and it just isn't there. Like combos, for example. You expect to see more of these, and they're not really there.
Same goes for, like, certain enemy quirks. Like, early on, there's these, like, pig enemies, and there's, like, the big boss pig. And if you defeat all his little underlings, he gets scared and spends every turn running from you. Some behavior quirks like that I think I would have liked to see in other areas. There's some stuff, like the robots recharge if you hit them with lightning and things like that.
Some things get mad if you steal things from them.
Yeah. The King Goos.
Yeah, or there's one that you steal their teddy bear and they go berserk. If you steal some of the bouncers, if you steal their like zenny purses, they'll target the person they'll focus on the person who stole it. Like, that's kind of like a taunt. But again, they're like these little things are around, but like you could play this game and never see them by no fault of your own because a guy didn't hit you, and so you didn't know this is an interaction that could happen.
Let me tell you, when I was reading that guide for the end game, and it's like, oh, just have Nina use the transfer skill a lot, and I was like, I don't have that. I don't have the transfer skill.
Yeah.
What's Plan B?
Yeah. Plan B is soul and go back to the beginning and get the transfer skill.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a game.
Yeah.
I think it just, I don't know, because those vibes are on point. You're like, it sells the brutality of having to restart, but
you don't mind it. It's kind of okay. You accept it,
and you are truly stronger, right? Like when you restart, so it isn't as difficult to get back.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you become a wolf.
Yeah, basically.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wolves restart.
Yeah.
That's what they're always
persist?
telling me. Sure.
I kind of, Brogan, I want to like retroactively put an addendum on our MVC4 video. I want Ryu and Lin in that game now.
That would be fun. I think bringing them into a MVC game would be super fun. That would be cool. Yeah, especially with that art style. Yeah, it'd be sick. And then they would have like a Dark Phoenix mode. Once you get like 5 meter, Ryu would just go demon or dragon mode and be like, rah!
He gets an install in NBC. he's the Marvel install.
Yeah. Or maybe you can make it like Nago and Strive, where you use it too much, you just lose.
Yeah, like the blood thing. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Oh
yeah.
Man. Any other comments, y'all? I feel like we're wrapping up.
No, just Jarrett, thank you for exposing me to this game. Like I said, I never would have given it a second thought otherwise.
No problem. This is a thing that's been stuck in my head for decades, so I'm glad I can inflict it on other people now.
Jarrett, where can we find you?
Blue Sky if I'm being good. Twitter if not. At Jarrett John and both places.
And you write for places like IGN. You also have edited and published, like, online your own magazine. Is this correct?
This is correct. 2 issues of a zine called Life Bar from last year, I believe.
Links in the description.
More issues coming. It's just when you're paying for all this out of pocket, you gotta, like, be responsible.
It's busy.
So it's
yeah.
me first getting busy and then using that to be responsible and then probably publish another zine or 2. You know, see what happens.
Nice. Murph, what do we have?
We have a whole ass YouTube channel where we throw up some supplemental stuff. You can watch video versions of the podcasts. We also throw up some like video essays we've done or just some Let's Play stuff. I've got a little series with 2 episodes so far called Murph's Feelin' Itchy, where I look at indie games on itch.io. Currently, there's an episode on The Dark Queen of Morthholm. That's a fun game where you play the final boss of a Souls game. And then there's also The Moth Inside Me, which is a surreal first-person horror game based on the devs' like recurring childhood nightmares, but also LSD dream simulator.
I'm sold. I'm sold on both. You got me.
Yeah.
Jarrett, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you for bringing me on. I'll find some other completely harrowing experience and come back.
Excellent. And come down through the chimney.
No.
Bring us the joy. We won't shoot you, I promise.
Brogan, here's what we do. Easy content. We just do Vagrant Story Redux, but we have Jarrett and Brendan just talk for 2 hours.
Yeah, we can just...
we can just take a break.
We can just levitate together.
Yeah. Telepathically communicate to each other. We try to record it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun. I think we're playing out now. Oh, wait! Time out! Murph, what is the next episode?
Well, the next episode, Brogan, I'm tired of fighting these oppressive regimes. I think it's time we finished the fight. As we dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. we go into Halo 3.